Hey everyone, welcome to Criterion Connection. I'm Joe,
And I'm not Wade, I'm Scott.
and we're here talking about a Guillermo del Toro movie from 2017, A Shape of Water.
Not A Shape of Water, The Shape of Water.
Thank you.
I don't know about you, but for me, this is kind of interesting because this is the second movie that at least I've done. I don't know how many you've done, where I saw it in the theater when it came out, before it hit Criterion and everything, and now I'm reviewing it at this point. The other one, of course, being Wally, which I think Wade and I did that one. It might have been me and you. I can't remember who I did it with, but we definitely did Wally, and I liked that movie. And so is this one. How many do you think off the top of your head you've seen in the theater and are reviewing it now?
We've done so many reviews that I forget more than half of them.
Shape of Water, movie about a woman who she's mute, she cannot talk. That's what that means, and she lives next door to a very. How would you describe her neighbor?
He's an artist, and he's gay.
Well, yeah, but there's more to him than that. I mean,
He's a bit neurotic.
that's a good word.
He's a bit neurotic.
Awkward.
A little awkward. He's
Scatterbrained a little, because it seems like when even in more
gets,
controlled situations, he doesn't seem to really have a real train of thought.
He gets flustered a lot,
very easily
and he's scatterbrain's a good word, because early on in the film she brings him some food and he goes, I thank you, I would have forgotten, right? And he it's such a interesting dynamic that they have, where it's almost like, I don't know if brother and sister, but maybe even uncle niece kind of vibe.
I'd say more brother and sister.
Yeah.
I mean, one doesn't feel more overpowered than the other. They feel like they're on. To me, they feel like they're on an even playing field,
right?
As far as their relationship goes, and no one's really in control or anything like that.
Well, I almost feel like uncle niece, because it's like choosing to be with each other and they connect, and he doesn't treat her like a daughter, but he'll kind of bring up lessons and tell her stories. But yeah, I could see, a little bit of brother and sister too, but
And now going into the artist thing, his main thing that he does is he makes artworks for advertisements.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, not a lot in the movie, but that comes up here and there, is him doing a Jell-O ad. And the whole thing about it's just never quite good enough. And I know there's a metaphor in there somewhere.
It's the life of an artist.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe it's a metaphor I'm not getting, but it's well done. It's just one of those ones where it doesn't hit for me, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hit. You know what I mean?
The whole it's never quite there. I always like to say that an artist's best friend is a deadline. Because a lot of times they'll just keep working and working until they hone it into what they want. And if they don't have a deadline, it's just not going to get done.
Yeah. But she also has a strong relationship with her coworker.
Yeah.
They both work as maids at a science facility.
It's a research center.
Yeah, it's like a science military research facility. And they're really close, and one of the things I always found interesting the first time I watched it and now is how she has these relationships with these people. She can't say a word, but she still has these relationships where everyone kind of just, even because you have her neighbor who he can understand sign language, so it's not that difficult.
Yeah. But
then you have someone I cannot remember her name to save my life. But Octavia Spencer's character. I can't remember her name to save my life. But she doesn't speak sign language, and yet she can still... She understands. She still understands. She's still able to communicate. They're still able to communicate with each other.
It's the looks and kind of understanding body language and just being you don't want to do that or something like that,
And so they're working at this place, and they're bringing in this new thing. They don't even really know. At first, you don't even really know. Well, obviously, we know what it is.
It's a top secret project, and it's brought in that tank. Michael Shannon shows up, his character, who's like kind of the government, like he's the military G-man, like he's
he's like the military guy overseeing all this. And funny enough, we talked about this not too long before filming. Our friend Abby brought up a good point. How it's kind of like in a different movie, like if this was like the old Creature from the Black Lagoon, a character like this would actually be the good guy.
Yes.
With how he acts towards the creature and his behavior and everything like that. But with a movie like this, because of like the tone it has and the way everything's presented, even though it's the same traits, the same things, the same guy comes from like, got a wife and kids, good car, all this other stuff. But here he is, this really just I don't even want to say borderline, but almost psychotic character. And by the way, don't get used to him having 10 fingers.
So what is interesting and I think, anybody who's done any research into The Shape of Water, it's Guillermo del Toro playing with perspective of like the events of, say, like A Creature from the Black Lagoon. He always had a very sympathetic view towards Gilman, and always like had this thought of like, that's a beautiful kind of romance between Gilman and the woman, and this is the movie that's born out of it. So of course all of the people that are like the protagonists in Creature from the Black Lagoon who hunt the creature, you flip it, he's now this psychotic villain who has this crazy, like, obsessive, intense hatred of this thing.
And you got the whole, I can't even really call it a B plot because it's with the neighbor and the guy at the pie shop, but like I would say the B plot would be, the perspective of Michael Shannon's character and what he goes through, especially after the creature bites his fingers off. And he's trying, they attach him. And so like through the whole movie, he's like taking these pills, and you can very slowly. It's not till like, I think near the end, you really start seeing him turn black.
Yeah.
But you can see like slowly over time that his fingers are not taking.
Yeah.
Which as soon as he says, yeah, they reattach that, they don't know if it's going to take. You just know they're not. You don't bring that up. See, I think it would have even been funnier is if they did take. They finally healed. And then like towards the end, the creature bites them off again. That I think would have been funny.
You're just torturous, man.
But yeah, so you've got all these things kind of convening under this one thing being the creature.
Yeah, and I think the fact that Eliza is mute and uses alternative forms of communication rather than just speaking plays into kind of the whole message of like the relationship that she develops with the creature as two beings who can't speak the same language, but like she teaches him sign language,
kind of like Coco the gorilla. I wonder if that had anything to do with that. Maybe some kind of inspiration there.
It's this whole like compassion and love transcends language, and it's such a great like message for the film, and it's thematically kind of works with her being mute, and then like finding ways to, her best friend is a gay man in the 60s, or coworker who's
an
also
older, even more so, an older gay man in the 60s. And as hard as it already is being young and gay in the 60s, can you imagine like being older and really not knowing what to do?
And you've got her coworker, a working black woman in the 60s.
Yes.
So it's
while segregation is still clearly going on,
Yes.
as we learn in the later pie scene, which I mean, you talk about a 180. I mean, I knew going into that scene, I knew he wasn't going to take to his advances, but man, I forgot that he's also a big old racist on top of it.
Yeah, and it's just all of these kind of marginalized people finding ways to overcome like those boundaries and barriers.
Yeah. And then there's Brewster.
and we talked about your favorite moment earlier with Michael Shannon's character dragging the guy.
Oh yeah. If you want to see the most badass move ever. So the fact that we've gone this long without saying it. So the movie takes place in our hometown of Baltimore. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that was cool with me, now I don't know if they filmed in Baltimore, but when they do the scenes with the big salt piles, it's like, even if it's not in Baltimore, I know exactly what they're talking about, and I know exactly where it's supposed to be. And so there are two scenes, I think there might have been one other one, but like there's a scene that establishes, and then the later scene where like all like the Russian stuff, they, very like, code words and stuff like that. Well, the when they do it towards the end, Michael Shank, he catches up to them, and they already turned on Dimitri, so he's got like a bullet hole in his cheek from being shot in the face. Other guy comes up, kills both of the other two Russians, but he's trying to get information because, as you remember, he was posing as a scientist at the lab, so he already knows he wants to keep the creature alive. So to try to get answers, he takes his finger and just rams it in the bullet hole in his cheek and just drags him and then throws him with the finger still in the hole into a big salt pile. And I was like, that is cool.
With Guillermo del Toro, like, I've always been pretty hit and miss with him. But, like, we've had reviews of, like, Kronos and Devil's Backbone and several Guillermo del Toro movies that have been on the Criterion Collection. This one, I think, is quite a, like, I don't know if magnum opus would be the correct word, but I think this is so far probably the height of his career.
I don't know, dude. Hellboy kicked ass.
Hellboy's cool. But, like, this movie is just so... I don't know. It's just so good.
I mean, it is a good movie.
It's, like, one of those ones where it's, like... This is one of those Best Picture, like, Oscar winners that you're like, yeah, that's justified.
I will say, this is the first movie I ever saw in a theater that went on to win Best Picture.
Yeah, and I think...
It won Best Picture, I think.
It did.
It was at least nominated.
It won. Yeah.
If nothing else, it's the first Oscar winner I ever saw in the theater, so there you go.
But it's just so quality. The detail, like the attention to detail, the character plots, like just incredible performances from everybody. Everybody talks about Doug Jones as the creature, but like Sally Hawkins, Octavia Spencer, Richard Jenkins, they're all incredible performances.
Absolutely. It's just... I don't recall a scene where Sally Hawkins was carrying a dead body in a backpack. I'm just saying. Both movies had a fish man, but one had a tour guide corpse that lived in a backpack.
So, Scott, we've come to the ultimate question. Would you recommend this to the general audience?
Yeah. I think it's got enough weird stuff to at least draw you in. And enough interesting stuff to draw you in. But I mean, at its heart, like, if you take away, like, her having sex with the fish, like, it's, it's just a good regular movie. It's just you add that, like, supernatural, I guess, technically, maybe, element to it. I will say, if you can't handle the sight of him eating a cat's head off, don't watch this movie. But I think for the most part, like, it's good. It's a good, well told story. It's fun. It has these little detours that, maybe they're not important to the plot, but they're good and they serve a purpose. And like I said, I had a good time. I had a good time in the theater. I had a good time now. And the thing is, seeing it in the theater, it was that whole like, oh man, this is when she does it, right? You know, 'cause you have that like ha ha about the movie, but now that that's come and gone, I can, you know, I can watch the movie as, you know, as it is, like for what it is. And the second time around, I got just as much enjoyment now as I did then. Once the what's the word I'm looking
The
for?
novelty.
The novelty. Thank you.
Yeah.
Once the novelty of that wears off, and you can actually watch it, treat it as just a movie. Yeah, it's pretty good. And I think this is one that's it's paced well. Whatever. It doesn't feel artsy fartsy like a lot of other movies in this collection do. I'm sorry. Um, like
I'm well aware.
I just
I'm
think
well aware.
I think it's one that a regular person could put on and have a good time.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I'd also recommend this to the general audience. I think this is one of those ones that satisfies your artsy fartsy crowd and like your average crowd, um, because it's just a really solid movie, solid plot, solid performances, great direction, and it just kind of is a total package. A very deserving Best Picture winner.
Right.
One time where the Academy gets it right. And I don't get to say that all the time. So it's nice to be able to say that and to have somebody who's been working at it for so long and has put so much love and care into his work finally reap the rewards of it with the Oscar win. Um, so that's our thoughts on The Shape of Water by Guillermo del Toro. What do you think? Please let us know. Leave a comment down below. Like and share the video. Uh, that's all we've got here for the Criterion Connection.
Yeah.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Scott.
And we'll see you later.